welcome to another edition of Enhance's Be Good, Do Good podcast. My name is Jenny Tomlinson and I'm the marketing manager here at Enhance, and I'm joined today by my colleague Mansoor Ahmed, who is one of our excellent ERP consultants. Welcome, Mans.
Thank you, Jenny.
So just first off, just to explain a little bit more about what Be Good, Do Good is all about. So it gives every single member of Enhance the opportunity to volunteer for the charity of their choice for one working day per month. Enhance works really closely with the charity sector, and we have done for many years. So we implement scalable charity-specific Microsoft solutions to charities of all sizes. So this is just another opportunity for us to give something back. So coming back to you, Man. So your charity work journey actually started way before Be Good, Do Good was launched. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about why you first got involved in volunteering, what inspired you, the charity you work with, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. Mansoor Ahmed, as Jenny's introduced me. Thank you for that. Charity work, right? Charity work is part of my faith. I'm a Muslim, and in my faith, your charity work is got a very high importance, and it must be done. There's so many rules, scriptures, etc., that I could quote, which is not the point. But yeah, it's ingrained in us from a very early age. So as part of that charity work and working with my community, which is the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association, we hold many events nationally. We hold regional events. These things started off evolving around a charity walk. It would, in the early days, the walk was like about 20 miles, and it would be in various locations around the country. And then people thought 20 miles was too much. Then, over the years, we've evolved and made it like a 10K fun run stroke walk. And the whole emphasis of it is bringing the communities together wherever we operate, and obviously raising funds for charities. When we do these events, we raise funds for national charities that we support on a regular basis, name of only but a few, things like the Poppy Appeal and other charities, Leukemia Cancer Research. And then we have local charities. So wherever an event takes place, so we could have like an event taking place in maybe one of our Hartlepool chapters. So the people who are organising in that area, they will contact local charities, local mayor's charities, and tell them of what they're doing, get the public on support, council support, and then whatever funds we have, we distribute them amongst all the charities that we've signed up with. For example, like if we were to go to another part of the country, whatever the local charities are there, they would also be part of our commitment, as well as the national trade. So that's the kind of work that we do as a community. And where my role comes in is we're just volunteers. So wherever a need is required, we step in or are asked to help out. So obviously in the early days, it was just pure voluntary work, helping out here, being a steward, being a marshal, lifting, logistics. As you get older, you learn more, become more experienced. Recent years, been more member of the managing and organising committee, organising these events, helping them run events, and all the other logistical support that may be required in there. And yeah, from time to time, I've had to dip back in again and do the old, the actual boots on the ground roles, as they say, as well. So doing all this work, it also, for me, certainly, it bonds a brotherhood, because in the early days, I'd be doing it with my brothers as well, friends, family that and then wider community members, and it just builds a bond and an understanding, and it's been like that ever since. I mean, I've got, I don't know, how can you put it? I've got contacts and connections which we've made, like, since very early days, and these people have turned out to be very good friends, and the whole community bond is excellent, especially when you're doing it for a charitable event. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Like I said, there's a few charities that I've personally done a little bit more work with in recent years. Some of these charities are some that we've heard of, others that you may not have heard of. One of the charities that we raise funds for regularly is a charity called Humanity First. Humanity First is also an initiative part of my community, but one of our major ethoses is that every penny that is raised is actually what is spent on the ground. So all the funding of this organizational work, the logistics, the events, etc., is all borne by us, the members, the volunteers, etc. So basically, we arrange the event. So whatever we raise, if we raise 100,000, it's £100,000 that actually goes to the charity pot. So all the event running costs are met by us. That's the kind of ethos that I
Fantastic.
like. And then we obviously reach out to other charities. We found several years ago that a lot of charities struggle with volunteers and they struggle with raising of the funds. Jenny, you know, we know this very, very well purely because of with Enhance, we have a good percentage of our clients who are from the charitable and not-for-profit sector. So we see it on, at the coalface, we see the challenges that they have and how they record it. And then I've seen it from the other side as well, on how they basically are, trying to raise their funds and volunteers, etc. So we, as a community, made an initiative with Royal British Legion, and we have our chapters around the country, various people doing various events. And we all know what Puppy Appeal involves. Basically, it's collecting funds for our armed services, veterans, etc. And it's by selling poppies and other Puppy Appeal related products, for the collection charity. In London, I have been part of the team which collects at train stations. So me, my brother, my friends, and obviously our community, we take over some of the London mainline stations during the armistice 2 weeks. We have to go through all the, as you know, all the regulatory hoops. We have to get the HSE approval, health and safety, all the rest of it. Once we're done and approved by Railtrack, then we can collect officially on the concourse of mainline train stations. So we generally have a license, if you want to call it that, for Liverpool Street. It's certainly my chapter, that is Liverpool Street and King's Cross. Our other chapters then can cover other stations like London Bridge, etc. And then around the country, they'll have other venues and events where they can raise. Along with that, we do that for 2 weeks, and you'll probably, I don't know, find this strange, but we do it for 2 weeks, 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 p.m. in the evening, 7 days a
Wow.
week, trying to maximize our donation income for the charities. And the what we do is, if I give you the example of where we are, we have like 3 or 4 table stalls at Liverpool Street. So anybody listening to this podcast, if you've ever seen us at Liverpool Street, London Liverpool Street, or even King's Cross or any other station for that matter, do in the future come over, say hello to us, and donate if you can. But yeah, so in Liverpool Street we'll have about at least 3 what we call stations tables where we are selling, collecting. From 7 to 11, we have a team of about 20 to 30 people, and we have a rotating shift for certain people, different hours people are working around work commitments, etc. In the past, I do all the weekends there during the 2 weeks and take annual leave, which I'll cover on a little bit later on, for holding these events, because I've normally taken several days during that period to
Yep.
help raise the funds. We raise 6 figures plus just on one train station. So
That's amazing.
it's a very, very good initiative. Then further to that, what British Legion then asked us to do was cover some other events for them from time to time, and these are one-off events for them. These are football events, and maybe some sort of an entertainment event might be going on at one of the big venues, and they'll ask us to lend a hand there and end up volunteering. So in the past, we've done Tottenham Football Stadium. They've been very good with us. They allow us to collect around the stadium during, before match times, not after. Then I think before COVID, we did it at Wembley, because some of you, as you know, Tottenham was being rebuilt, so they were working down at Wembley. So that's the kind of stuff that we've been doing. Yeah, that answer. I know I've gone on a
Excellent.
bit. Does that answer your question? There's so much to tell, but I'm trying to
It
condense it
does.
as much as I can.
Yeah, clearly an extensive amount of charity work there, so commendable. So when Enhance kind of launched the Be Good, Do Good initiative, what kind did this enable you to do, and why did you want to get involved in it?
Um, well, the do good, be good, in some respects, I was already doing it.
You
So
were.
this is now the do good, be good, which Enhance is giving, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of the best things that I've seen as a benefit from an employer, from a company, from an organization. It allows me to do more, which is the biggest thing. So previously, for example,
Yeah.
when if I would take 2 or 3 days as annual leave in a particular period for a charity event, now I can increase that And if I increase it, my theory is that we can only increase donations by having more time, more donations, more charity work, etc., and the whole wheel goes round. But I think it's an absolutely fantastic initiative, and long may it continue. I've spoken to it about I've spoken to this event, this initiative to friends and colleagues, like outside of work, and I don't think anybody has ever heard of anything like this. The closest,
Oh, wow.
yeah, the closest I've come is one of my colleagues, and he works for, without mentioning the name, one of the most major motor manufacturers in the UK. I'm sure you can work it out. And even they have an initiative which is only a few days per annum, and yet they are not
Right.
renowned for their. And this organisation is renowned for the benefits of its staff. So even it, my friend turned around and raised an eyebrow and said, "Wow, that's really excellent." I know, it's excellent.
Brilliant. So you've given us a bit of a snapshot about what you've actually been doing to sort of help charities. Have you found that you've been able to use sort of your ERP consultant skills to help
Oh,
charities, I suppose, around the communication and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, like I said, I operate in various capacities as wherever the need is. So sometimes I'm talking to these charities, and their main fundraisers are there, or regional fundraising directors. And when you start telling them what you do, who you do it for, and a few of them are going, "Oh, Enhance, yes," and it's an icebreaker. But in terms of that, I mean, what Enhance teaches us, okay, we know our job, we know we're ERP consultants and we do that, but also what it teaches us is a way to deal with the public, how to talk to our clients. It teaches us a methodology, it teaches us an ethos, and it teaches us a work ethic, which I think what I've
Yeah.
got from. So I take all of those skill sets and I use them in all the charity work that I do. So I use that same logic, I use the same skill sets, I use the same methodology, the same urgencies and what have you, and the whole idea of problem solving, thinking on your feet, dealing with members of,
Mm.
calming situations down, increasing situation, they all come into it. We deal with a range of areas and issues that we have at these events, and it is the training of your normal workday life, which enables you to do that. And obviously, you build a skill set which is specific to that area as well. But you can only do that once you've got the background and the foundation, I believe. So absolutely,
Absolutely, yeah.
that's a great deal.
Brilliant. So March 2020 kind of turned the world upside down. COVID hit, first UK lockdown. Can you
Yes.
tell us some about some of the fantastic volunteering work that you've been doing during the pandemic?
Okay. Yes, March hit, unfortunately, and around about the March 13th, I came home from work and I started feeling poorly. And I went into isolation for 14 days, and I did have very, very severe symptoms. At that time, it was so early, there was no testing, so you couldn't guarantee, say, yes, it was or wasn't. But as my doctor friend said, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, I had all the symptoms. Anyway, I recovered. It was a flu that I haven't seen before, and it inspired me more to know that there are other people out there who are about to suffer a lot worse than what I did. And I think at the time, we used to have our daily Prime Minister briefings at 5 o'clock. And in one of the briefings, they made an urgent plea for 250,000 volunteers that were needed. And I think I signed up before the PM's speech was even over that night. And been doing RVS ever since. Signed up, and then they have all these other roles that you can do with them, and it's run by the Royal Voluntary Service, who's in association with the NHS. So I've gone through all their checks and CRB, because I'm also a governor at a local school, so I've also had to have the CRB checks for that. So that all went through. So I started volunteering with them, and this was initially signed up for a support role. So if somebody needed any shopping doing, or if there's any pharmacies or medication requirements for certain members of the public as such. But the system was a bit slow to take on in the initial months, so it was, yeah, it was a bit slow. So I was generally just seeing what was going on in the area, and Help the Aged got in touch with me, Help the Aged Enfield chapter, that they were seeking volunteers that they needed. As you know, certain members of our society were shielding for 3 months, so Help the Aged were focusing on that age bracket. I've got a personal association with Help the Aged. They help my mother and father in their latter years of life quite a lot, so I've got a close association with them. So I was delivering medicines, Jenny, for people in my area who would register with Help the Aged and say, "Oh, can you deliver our medication or our prescriptions from XYZ pharmacy?" So I used to get a list every
Mhm.
day, and I would then go round to the pharmacy, show my badge, pick up the medication, drop it off to the relevant people, and then go on the next round. So that's what the majority of the work that I was doing. Then it moved on to hot meals as well. And then I think I'm a type of guy who can't say no, because I think one of the guys asked me, "Oh, could you give a hand with, delivering some hot food?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" Send it over.
That's
So
fantastic. It's
I was
fantastic.
doing Uber deliveries for Help the Aged as well, if you want to call it that. But yeah, but yeah, doing that, and then it started to calm down a bit. We started moving out of the major lockdown to shielding periods were coming to an end, and then we was on to the next phase, which was vaccinations. I signed up with the North Central London NHS and directly with them, and I am now a COVID marshal or COVID steward, if you want to call it that, at a registered NHS vaccination facility here in Enfield, and that's what I do nowadays. I still do the Good Sam app every time, like on some of my do good be good days. If I don't have a shift or I've got time left over from when I've done a shift at the Dugdale Centre, which is where the COVID vaccination centre is, I'll log on. It's like an app, like I don't know how these other apps work, but this one is you got the app. You turn yourself on duty and almost like a taxi thing. So you mark yourself as on duty. So if any new tasks come in, you get a ping on your phone. So I just turn it on. Any pings that come in, I'll respond to them, go out, do whatever's required, and then come back. And then at 6 o'clock, the requests stop coming in. And then that's my day done. And on the weekends, it's back to the COVID centre, or the vaccination centre, rather. Bit of a busy life.
Must be extremely busy. Yeah, I was just going to say you're very, very busy, but I'm sure
Mm.
your sense of humour and your gentlemanly charm really helped to sort of lift the spirits of some really isolated and some vulnerable people during the
I
past
hope
year.
so.
So
I
hats
hope
off to
so.
you.
If I make even 5% difference to somebody's life, then winner.
Absolutely. So are you aware of sort of how your help has impacted the charities and maybe the people it supports and that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly we can see it. Media coverage is enough for some of the charities. So, the charity work that I do done before pre-COVID. We know the great work that charities like Cancer Research and Macmillan and the Royal British Legion, all these countries. We know all the fantastic work that they do. We have all these local charities. Along with that, supporting humanity first. We've been doing projects around the world, which are like water projects, could be food projects, hospitals, schools. Also, when there has unfortunately been various disasters around the world, like, we've had earthquakes, we've had tsunamis in the past and such like. So, Humanity First always send a team out to these disaster areas as well for aid relief, etc. So you support that in any way that you can. So that's, yeah, so many people that would have benefited in so many different ways.
Absolutely. You've shared your thoughts on the actual Be Good Do Good initiative and how good you think that is. So, kind of, would you recommend it to other employees to take part
Oh,
in and on
absolutely.
other organisations?
Absolutely. I try to promote, well, I'll promote it in my team at every meeting that we have, because they always ask me, "Oh, man, when is your next Do Good, Be Good day?" And, all that kind of stuff. So, or they'll see one of my Twitter posts where I've done something, but it keeps that engagement and it keeps it in like current news and items to of discussion. And that's where we need it to be. And if everybody could do this kind of an initiative, I think the world would be such a better place.
It would
So
be, yeah,
absolutely,
agree.
I'm absolutely promoter of it and think it's excellent initiative.
Great stuff. Okay, so that's all we have time for today. Just to say a huge thank you to you, Mans, for sharing your story and for all the great work you've done and you continue to do. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in, and hopefully you'll join us next time for another Enhanced podcast. So thanks again, Mans. Take care and
Thank
stay
you very
safe.
much for your time, Jenny. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
So,
Bye.
bye.